Yes, people, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the match preview for Chelsea versus Everton. First things first, guys, make sure you smash the like, subscribe if you're new around here, and as always, leave your thoughts in the comments below. And let's dive into it. Everton visiting Stamford Bridge on Monday night. And I'm going to say this now. If we do not win this game, then I think we can forget qualifying for Europe next season. Given the points that we've dropped over the last few games, more points dropped given what we've got coming up, Aston Villa, Spurs, Arsenal, still got to go to Brighton. We've got some tough games coming up in the last few. If we don't win this and we drop more points, I'm going to say it now, we are not going to qualify for Europe. This is a must win. I've said that about a lot of the previous games, and we haven't managed to get the job done in the majority of them. Yes, it's at home. Yes, our home form is a lot better. We've only lost one game in our last, we've only lost once at home since October. So that is a positive, but that's not stopped us conceding goals for fun. That's not stopped us not being able to see games out, etc. And the frustrating thing is, like, if you bring the Premier League table up, given our results have been going for the teams above us, you bring that table up and you look at it, and if we were semi-serious, and that's a big if we were actually a serious club, we right now should be on 48 points because we should have beaten Sheffield United and we should have beaten Aston Villa. It's not Aston Villa. We should have beaten Sheffield United and we should have beaten Burnley. That would then put us, 12 points behind Aston Villa, 2 games in hand on them to play, plus we play them away anyway. I know it's ifs and buts, but generally speaking, like, the amount of points we've dropped and the amount of points we've thrown away, we could legitimately be in contention for 5th place. Right now, there's no excuse for us why we shouldn't be 6th. There really isn't, other than the fact that we haven't taken games seriously against the likes of your Brentfords, your Evertons, your Burnleys, your Sheffield United, your Wolves, etc. You know, the amount of points that we've dropped to those teams. Wolves did a double on us. We didn't beat Brentford this season. We lost to West Ham. We lost to Aston Villa at home in the league. We've lost to Nottingham Forest. We drew to Burnley, drawn to Sheffield United. Like, all these points that we've thrown, I'm not saying we should have won all these. We would have won all these games. If you just turn 2 or 3 of those games into wins, which we absolutely should have done, like, there's no reason why, you know, we shouldn't have been in 6th place this season and potentially putting a run together for 5th. But this group of players, this squad, management, everything connected with the club, we're just not up for the games that are against the lesser sides. And that is why we're in the position that we're in. So this game is a must win for me. If we don't win, then I think we can absolutely forget qualifying for Europe. But that is the state of play before we play on Monday night. Obviously, the other fixtures will be played before and it might look slightly different, but our position, I think, will pretty much stay the same. And, you know, I keep saying it, somehow we still have a chance of finishing 6th, despite our best efforts to shoot ourselves in the foot every single week through poor in-game management from the manager, not being able to see games out, sloppy defensive stuff. We still somehow have a chance. The fact that we've let Man United seemingly get off the hook is unforgivable. They are absolutely shocking. But yeah, it is what it is. It's where we are at with this Chelsea side at this point in time. But that is the state of play before the game. This is must win. Otherwise, Europe, we can absolutely forget it. In terms of what else has been happening, we have the Chelsea accounts released. Normally, football accounts being released is not really big news, but for some reason, Chelsea's accounts seem to be front page news. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an accountant and I understand any of it, so I'm not going to bore you with the numbers. But Todd Boehly had been speaking in some quotes picked up by the Times and saying that Chelsea will comply with Premier League financial fair play rules for the foreseeable future. He knows a lot more about numbers than I do, and I think any fans do. So, yeah, I'm going to trust his word for it. You know, these guys have got a lot of stuff wrong, but I think one thing they do know about is numbers, and I find it very hard to believe that they would have fucked up on this scale with this PSR stuff. If they say that we're going to be compliant, then you have to take their word for it. Obviously, it's not ideal that we are covering up expensive mistakes in the transfer market by selling off academy players. We can't continue to do that. That can't become common practice. Hopefully, you know, that's just kind of a one-off to get ourselves out of a little bit of mess, and then academy players will be given an opportunity. I get it, it's twofold, but not every single academy player should be being sold to cover up for expensive mistakes that we've made in the transfer market. But with the current figures that got released, Chelsea would pass PSR. That is absolutely correct. But yeah, Boehly saying we're going to comply with that. We've got players to sell still. We're good at selling players. So I don't think Chelsea should have any worries about any of the numbers at this point in time. But it is funny how, front page news, Chelsea accounts, they think they're going to scare us with FFP and profit and sustainability, and we've been through sanctions and all that sort of thing. So, yeah, I think we can sort of relax a little bit about that. But yeah, it's good that Bowley's come out and obviously said that. And you kind of have to take his word for it. And I do actually believe them and trust them on this side of things. So that was a positive. That it doesn't look like we're going to be getting hit with any PSR breaches, which is good stuff. In terms of other news, I mean, look, this is a must-win game, as I said. The reading's not great. Yes, we're unbeaten in our last 7 or 8 games in the league, as Pochettino reminded us in the press conference yesterday. But when you look at the last 9 games, this is shocking. 159 shots conceded, 55 shots on target conceded, 21 goals conceded, and an expected goals against of 15.22. We played Sheffield United, Man United, Burnley, Newcastle, Brentford, City, Palace, Wolves, and Liverpool. Look, is it mistake? Is it misfortune? Look, I think it's a combination of the two, but it's definitely a much higher percentage of mistake, 100%, because there seems to be no defensive structure. They were making a lot of errors. No one seems to know what they're doing. We're far too open in midfield, which is why we're conceding so many shots on goal. And those stats are alarming, despite the fact that we've only lost we lost 2 of those games that were mentioned. So yeah, that needs to fix up. We know defensively that we have had to fix up, or we do need to fix up. Sorry, and yeah, when you see that written down there, that's alarming. You sort of don't really realize it at the time when you sort of leave the stadium. Like, that's another poor performance. When you see the numbers written down of what's going against us, there's little wonder as to why we're struggling to pick up wins and get any level of consistency. The fact we've only won back-to-back games in the league twice this season kind of says it all and explains why we are where we're at in the table. But this right here is a result of no structure in midfield, no defensive structure, lack of confidence, lack of game plan, lack of knowing what to do, lack of accountability, lack of leadership on the pitch. Those are all reasons why this is going against us, and that stems from the manager, and it also stems from the players as well. So that needs to be fixed as quickly as possible. Do I have any faith that's going to be fixed in the remainder of this season? No, I absolutely do not. Do I expect us to be involved in more high-scoring basketball games? Yes, I absolutely do think that. But once again, as I've said, guys, many times, what we're doing right now is not sustainable football. If we are having to score 2 or 3 goals every single week to have a chance of even just getting a point, we are not going to win many games, and we are not going to move up the table and progress as a football club. In terms of this game, obviously, Everton, we lost there earlier in the season in December. That was the game that Reece James did his hamstring in. And they were on a decent run of form in and around that time. But since they beat us, they beat Burnley the game after away from home. They hadn't won a game again until they beat Burnley last weekend. I don't think Everton's record is particularly good at Stamford Bridge. Not that makes too much difference because of how we're playing at the moment. We know what they're going to do. They're fighting for their lives at the bottom with the points deductions that has put them in a bit of trouble. They don't play the best football. Sean Dyche is not the most progressive manager, but you know exactly what they're going to do. They're going to set up, make themselves hard to break down. They're going to look to hit us on the counter-attack. They're going to look to put balls in the box, make it difficult. They've got threats from set piece. Jared Branthwaite, Calvert-Lewin, Beto if he plays. McNeil's a good player. They've got a decent midfield of Amadou Onana, Jimmy Garner, Doucouré, if these guys are all available. Like, they've got some good players there. They're going to be physical. The midfield battle is going to be tough for us to win, as it has a lot of games this season. And yeah, we're going to need to be up for it. And these are the sort of games that we haven't been up for. We've got to be at it from minute 1. Yes, we've got a lot of injuries. There was a little bit more of an explanation on the Enzo Fernandez injury. And it's more a precaution rather than he's actually injured. Enzo Fernandez didn't train because he has inflammation in his abdomen. There is no rupture, muscle strain, or injury. There is a chance they'll rest him against Everton so that he can play against Man City. I think that's absolutely the right thing to do, in my opinion. We don't want to play him in this game and then he does himself an injury and then he's out for the remainder of the season, because any injury at this point is going to pretty much rule you out for close to the remainder of the season. And knowing our luck, absolutely the remainder of the season. So that, for me, he should be rested, or at the very least starting on the bench. I wouldn't be chucking him straight back in. That much is absolutely clear. In terms of other players are not. We know that Sterling's going to be potentially missing through illness. Chilwell is in partial training. He's been ill for the last week. I've spoken about the injury stuff many, many times. There's no point. I'm not going to bore you guys by going into it in depth again. We know the players that are missing. It needs to be dealt with as quickly as possible. Get a solution, find out. But I mean, for me, could it potentially be time to give Noni Madueke a run of games? I actually feel that Pochettino was asked about Madueke in the press conference. And these were some interesting quotes. Firstly, it's about having the space for him. When the club signed Cole Palmer, he was already here, as in Madueke, someone in the same position as him. It's about finding a dynamic where they can play together. The hope is always with talent like Noni is to be consistent and playing in the team to show his quality. Always it's about finding the right balance of the team. When Palmer arrived and is doing really well, sometimes you cannot play in the position. I hope he can grow and be an important player for Chelsea. Look, Madueke, no doubt, has definitely improved this season, 100%. Is there space in the same team for Madueke and Palmer? I believe there is, although Noni tends to play down the right and Palmer, that's where Palmer is at the moment. Madueke could play in the middle, potentially, or he could certainly play on the left as well, maybe. And it is interesting. Look, I think there's a lot of talent in Noni. He's improved from last season. And over the last few games, he has made a difference. He came on against Leicester and scored that amazing goal. He made a difference when he came off the bench against Man United. Even in the game against Sheffield United, he was inconsistent, but he popped up with a big moment, and he did score, and he did have an impact on the game. And he's another one of those players that is going to need minutes to develop. And it's hard to argue against him not deserving an opportunity to start the game, to start against Everton, to be given a run of games in the side, to kind of show what he can do. Right now, he has proven to be better off the bench against tiring legs with his dribbling, his pace, and his one-on-one ability. But there's no reason for me why he wouldn't deserve a bit of a run in the side to showcase what he can do. Because in the appearances that he has had recently, he's shown that he can make an impact and he can make a difference to this Chelsea side, despite there being obvious areas to improve and despite him still being very raw. Look, I think Everton, it'll be a good opportunity for him at home. We know what they're going to do. This is going to be a difficult game for me, in all honesty. I don't have any confidence heading into many Chelsea games right now, given what we're doing. But you'd like to think we'd have enough quality. But in terms of the team lineup that I'd like to see, let's get it up on the screen now, and I'll go through the team that I would play. I mean, obviously, we've only got 4 fit centre-backs available if you include Alfie Gilchrist in that. Petrovic will continue in goal for me. Yes, I think he's done pretty well. A couple of mistakes recently against Sheffield United for the equaliser, against Burnley for the header, but he's been pretty solid overall. Malagusto will come straight back in at right back. Don't need to say too much about him. Chilwell's only been in partial training. If he's available and ready, bench. Cucurella can continue. I actually don't think Cucurella has done that badly. And then only fit centre-backs we've got are Chalobah, Silva, Badiashile and Alfie Gilchrist. For me, I like Benoit Badiashile, but I just don't think he's been playing well enough in the games that he has had. And Chalobah, I think, ultimately has done better than him this season, if we're being honest. And then Thiago Silva, I think, keeps his place as well in the team. So that is the back four that I would go with. Gusto coming in at right back. Other than that, it would stay the same. I would leave Enzo Fernandez out of this one or at the bench at best. And obviously, Conor Gallagher will drop deeper to play alongside Moises Caicedo in that midfield. I mean, look, you could say, would Cesare Casadei deserve a run? He's not been given very many minutes recently, so why would he suddenly be starting is my view on that. I mean, look, I think he deserves opportunities. The younger players have got to be given more of a chance. You've got to take the gamble on them, chuck them in. Other top teams do it. Why are we prepared not to do that and then moan about the fact that, we haven't got enough options in midfield when we do? You're just choosing not to use them. But yeah, Gallagher and Caicedo in there. For me, obviously Cole Palmer starts on the right-hand side. I'd love Chukwuemeka to play. I'd love Mudryk and Madueke to also be in the same team, but they all can't fit in. So I'm going Carney in the 10. I just think it's his time to shine now, his time to start. We look better when he plays, in my opinion. We look better in the midfield when he's on the ball. He makes things happen. He picks up those pockets of space really well, those little half pockets, and he does make things happen. I would probably, Mudryk and Madueke is a toss-up. Madueke is doing well, but I'm a Mudryk guy. Having just said all that about Madueke, I've just given a nod. But for me, right now, there's not an awful lot of difference between what the two are doing. and I'd be happy with either or, but I'd just go Mudryk for me. And then obviously Nicholas Jackson carries on leading the line. Jackson and Caicedo are both one booking away from a 2-match ban. We really can't afford for that to happen at this point. They've done really well to sort of get this far on those 9 bookings. I'm not sure when it resets, but yeah, we don't want them to be missing the Arsenal game and the Aston Villa game. That would be the next 2 they miss. I don't think the bookings count in the FA Cup, but that's the team that I'd go with. Let me know your thoughts on the team. I'd love to say that would be enough to win this game, but ultimately with Chelsea, you can't have any confidence going into any games right now. So I'm going to say a narrow 2-1 win, but I really wouldn't be surprised if we lost this game, lost or drew this game. That's just the reality of the situation and what we're doing right now. And this is exactly the sort of games that we do struggle in. But it's that hope that keeps you going. And so I'm going to say a 2-1 win. But yeah, I mean, anything could happen right now with Chelsea. But just get the points on the board, because otherwise we can forget Europe, and it's going to be pretty tough for us, pretty difficult. But yeah, 2-1 win for me. Guys, that rounds up the preview. Smash the likes on the video, subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll catch you again in another one soon. Up the Chelsea, and peace out.